Sure. Great to celebrate. Hey, well, as I said, we have Michelle here from the Roddick Hope Trust, and I'm going to hand to her very soon. But I just want to frame up why Michelle's here this morning and why we're so excited to have her come and share. As you know, we are, how many days till Christmas? 5 weeks, 30-something days. 30-something days to Christmas, must be like 40-something days to the new year, and we're 14 days into a fast. And really what we're believing for in this time is that we would capture God's heart for us, His plans for us, His intentions for us, and that we would hear with clarity and we'd be able to step into 2025, not just with our own plans, not just with our own thoughts, not just rolling over, what we think in our head, but with God's plans for us. I love what Pastor Sam said a few weeks back that I mentioned last week. He said, why would we, instead of making your own plans, and asking God to bless them, why don't you ask for God's plans because they already come pre-blessed? Save yourself a little bit of time and just get His plans because they're already pre-blessed. It'll cause you a whole lot less stress because His grace and His blessing will already be upon it. And so I really like that. I've just been so encouraged in the last 2 weeks, just in all the different environments I've been in, Staff Space, e-groups, hallway conversations, church. My faith has just been stirred because so many of you are choosing to go and fast in this time. And as a pastor, man, that just puts so much confidence in my heart because I'm like, oh, cool, like God's going to speak to them and He's got them in 2025. It's not all on me. God's got them in 2025. And this, I tell you what, the amount of testimonies that are coming out right now in the last 2 weeks has been phenomenal. I don't know if God's doing more or whether we're just more aware and willing to give Him glory for it. I think it's probably the latter. I think God's always moving, but when we fast, we become more aware of Him and we're willing to give Him the glory. Just a couple of weeks ago, we were sitting in e-group and we were meant to be doing a study, but for 2 hours, people around the room just shared about the opportunities they had that week to be a witness for Jesus. I was blown away. 2 hours of men just saying, this is how I shared Jesus this week. This is who I prayed for. This is who I connected with. This is who I blessed. This is what God called me to for those people. And I thought, come on, this is the church. Sure, we like worship. Sure, we like the word. Yeah, nice coffee, all those things. But it's man, I got to be a witness for Jesus this week. I got to actually share the good news. And I think if men can do that, come on. This is a good thing. So that's exciting. Very exciting. As you can tell, I'm excited. Maybe, that's okay. Hey, a few weeks back, as we were framing up this season of coming into the fast, I just shared a message called Give, Pray, Fast. And really, my heart is in this time is that through those three things, we would turn our attention to God and would turn our attention to others. I think sometimes when we come into an opportunity for a new season, a new year, a new venture, sometimes we look to ourselves a lot. And we look at, hey, what can I gain? What could I gain in 2025? What house could I buy? What job could I get? What salary increase could I get? What new toys could I buy? How could I renovate my house? It's all about what could I gain in 2025. But I just love this challenge in this season is actually to go, God, I'm going to shift my mindset and I'm going to think more about what I could give in 2025. What could I give? Because God, you didn't just, I'm not an empty person. I have your presence. I have your power. I have your promises. Therefore, I've got a lot to give. I've got a lot to give. I have your Holy Spirit. I have the gifts. I'm not an empty vessel. You have filled me for your purpose. And so I love that challenge. I spoke about how in Matthew 6, Jesus lays it down in His very first sermon. I don't know what my first sermon was. Can you remember my first sermon? I can't. I bet it was kind of nice, though. I wouldn't have come in too hot, You don't want to come in too hot and be like, whoa, who's this dude? But I love Jesus. He comes in hot straight away. That Sermon on the Mount that's recorded. In Matthew 6, He says, when you give, when you pray, and when you fast. And so Jesus is just like, hey, if you've got a life that's devoted to God, if you're committed to living for Him, these are just some of the things I'm going to assume are just an everyday part of your life. That you'll be giving, that you'll be praying, and that you'll be fasting. And I don't know about you, but I'm really challenged by that. When I read that and it popped out to me, a couple months ago, I was like, whew, how much of my time is devoted to those three things, and how much of my thought is devoted to those three things? But I think that's the great invitation as we head into this new year. I believe that greater than any planning session, greater than any fancy journal we could buy, greater than any conversation we could have with just one another, would be to just make the choice, hey, I'm going to step into a moment where I take the focus off myself, I put it on God, and I put it on others. I'm going to give, I'm going to pray, I'm going to fast. I'm going to trust that God's going to plant something in my spirit, something in my soul, something in my heart to live in his purposes for 2025. I think the best place and the safest place to be is in God's will. The best place and the safest place and the funnest place and the most joy-filled and the most peace-filled, all those things. Peace-filled, I said pea-filled, it's peace-filled. Finish your words, Matt. Is in the will of God. When we're in the will of God, we know that God's already there with us. I love the idea that that Jesus is not interested in filling our schedule. Like when he's saying things like, hey, when you give and when you pray and when you fast, he's not like, oh, the Christians are bored, I better give them something to do. He's not trying to fill our schedules up, he's trying to fill our spirit up. He's trying to fill our soul, he's trying to fill our heart up. He's not trying to make your life more busy, he's trying to fill you up with the things that actually sustain you. And so I love that about God, that he wants to fill us up. So I just wanted to frame it up. Hey, in 2025, what if we flip the script right now and we said, hey, more than focusing on what I can gain in 2005, I'm going to focus on what I could give in 2025. And I think our lives would change drastically, because it even says in Acts 20:35, it's more blessed to give than receive. How do I live blessed in 2025? Work out how to give. Work out how to give, because that'll be a blessing to you. I love that. When it comes to giving, we all partake in moments of giving. Different things stir our heart. There's not a lack of opportunity to give, is there? Like, you'd have to avoid supermarket shopping if you really didn't want to give, because I think every week there's someone outside the supermarket and there's an opportunity to give to something. There's a lot of need in our world. There's a lot of opportunity to give. And, I think so often we partake in moments of giving. We're giving possessions, times, talents. We're giving these things. But sometimes as well, it's not just a moment that God asks for. He actually asks for our whole life. He's not asking for one thing. It's like his request is towards our whole life. And what I'm excited for this morning, and why I'm so excited to have Michelle here with us this morning and representing the Roderick Hope Trust, is that I know Michelle would have had a moment where God wasn't just asking for a moment, wasn't just asking for a thing, but was asking for her entire life. And what I love about the Roderick Hope Trust that we've been partnering with now before I was here, I think the first thing we did when I got here was we were taking up blue Santa buckets for Christmas. And then from there, it's just grown. But what I love about the Roderick Hope Trust is it wasn't just formed because there was a need. Yes, there was a need, but it was formed because God planted a desire in Michelle to give. And so I just love this morning that Michelle is here because she personifies what it is to be a giver. And she's going to share a little bit about the Roderick Hope Trust. But I hope this morning that we don't just pick up information about a charity, but that we would catch the spirit with which she carries, which is to be a giver. And I feel like if we could catch that this morning, I reckon our 2025 is going to be set up in a beautiful, beautiful way. So I've taken enough time. So can we welcome Michelle this morning as she comes to share about the Roderick Hope Trust.
Amazing. Thank you, Pastor Matt. Thank you, Pastor Abby. It's my absolute privilege to be here this morning and speak to you all about Roderick Hope Emergency Housing Trust. So my name's Michelle. I've got connections to all sorts of people in the room. So my name is Michelle Betteridge because Kevin is my father-in-law. And then we have my sister Sarah and my brother-in-law Sam Daly and my nephew Maitland and Marie and Shane Daly, who are part of our team, and Lauren and Dennis, who are part of our team. So it's and then the many others of you who I've known and done life with for so long. So just a little bit about me. So I'm married to Nate. We've been married for 3 years, and I grew up in a Christian home. My parents got saved when I was 3, and so I have been at City West Church since a 3-year-old. So 37 years I've been at City West Church. God spoke to me, actually, where are you, Daz? Not here, out the back. God spoke to me as a 19-year-old at the church that Daryl grew up in Wanganui. We had Easter camp there, and I was 19 years old, and we had Pastor Luca Robertson speak, and he pulled me out of the crowd, and he said to me, this is probably the most defining time in my life. He said to me, "You will be a mother to motherless children in your city, and you will influence governments and policies." And I had no idea what that meant. I had no idea. I just had no idea. I had no idea like what that looked like, what that meant. But slowly but surely, God started to unravel what the outworking of that prophecy, and literally, it's my life now. It's my life. So when I left school, I worked at family court. So I grew up in a home where there was no violence. I'd never ever seen Dad raise his voice to Mum, let alone a fist or control her in any way. And I found myself working in family court. And so for 7 years, I divorced everybody in Taranaki. I signed off their divorce certificates. And then I looked after all of the protection order files. So for years and years and years, I saw some of the most insidious things that happen in our city come over my eyes, and I would sign off the protection orders. And it really defined who I was and started to really shape and give me the experience I needed to be able to do what I do today. So after I working for Tūtama Wahine for a number of years, family court for a number of years, I went and worked for Tūtama Wahine. And so Frontline, Kaupapa Māori Frontline Family Violence Organisation, and I worked with kids who had been victims of family harm, and did programs with them, taught them how to stay safe. And I was also a truancy officer for 9 years, so that was fun too. Yeah. I hated school. I hated school so much. No offence, Sacred Heart, but I hated it. And no offence, Marina. So it's ironic what you find yourself doing, making people go back to the place you hated the most. Yeah. The other thing I do now, as well as obviously running Roderick Hope Trust, is I took stock of my life a few years ago, and I realised that a lot of the things that I was doing, I was running. I wasn't reporting to anybody, and I don't think that's a very smart thing to do. And so it's always good when you're leading something to be under someone else's leadership as well, responding to someone else, being directed by someone else, someone else giving you constructive criticism, feedback. And so that's actually how I met Dennis and Lauren, is I became their reliever when they were at Bailey Road. And so I journeyed with Dennis and Lauren as their reliever for about 3 years, and then once they left, I moved on from that, and now I answer the Women's Refuge crisis line. So once for 1 week in every 3 weeks, the crisis line gets transferred to my cell phone, and so if there is a crisis in the middle of the night, my phone rings and I get up and go and deal with it. And so one of the things God spoke to me about at the start of this Roderick Hope Trust journey is that I needed to position myself to be inconvenienced for the needs of others. It was loud and it was clear, and so thankfully I have a husband who just rolls over and goes back to sleep, and he doesn't mind. But that I needed to position myself to be inconvenienced for the needs of others. And it's something that is like the baseline of who I am, what I do now is, and like remind myself of it all the time. This is part of the call, and you're okay with this. Even when you feel like you're not, you're actually okay with this. So, while I was working at Tūtama Wahine, there was a week in 2014 where we had started to see the needs of homeless people across our city rise. And we had 1 week where we had a mum come in with who was living in her car with her 3 kids, a mum come in who was living with her 4 children in a shed, and another mum, and then another pregnant girl who was 19 years old and sleeping in a playground. And it broke my heart. It absolutely broke my heart. And we had nowhere we could put them. We had no services. We had no support. We had nothing that we could offer them. And so at that point, the government wasn't talking about homelessness. The media wasn't talking about it. As far as anyone was concerned, we didn't have an issue. But on the ground, we knew that this was a rising concern. And so being an entrepreneur at heart, I felt like I had nothing to lose. And so I basically, call it foolishness or call it faith, I went and got put pen to paper and started to plan about how we could start to address this issue in our city. So if you could have told me in 2014 that 8 years on we would have multiple government contracts, we'd have 9 staff, we'd have 14 houses, and we'd have the most successful ready-to-rent program in the country, I think I would have probably run a mile. The whole thing, and isn't God so gracious to us that he just gives us bite-sized chunks? You know, if he showed us the whole path, I would have been absolutely petrified and probably run the other way. So back when we started, Marie Daly was on our board at that stage, and we did everything for love. There was no money. No one believes in anything you do right at the start and invests into it. You've got to do this thing for love. And so we spent hundreds and hundreds of hours addressing homelessness in our city. And eventually, as you start to prove yourself and you get your correct policies and processes in place and you start to tick some of those really fundamental boxes, we were successful in obtaining some contracts. So we now have a governance board that looks after the governance side of things and operations. So I'm the general manager of Roderick Hope Trust. Marie Daly's our property manager, and Lauren is our community connector. So can we just go flick to the next slide? So there's some of our team. You'll recognise some faces there. We've got North Point represented, we've got Equippers, we've got New Plymouth Community Church, and we've got City West Church represented there in our team. And flick to the next slide. So just some more of our team as well. I have a phenomenal team. We are so blessed with the team that we have. So just some of the services that we run as an organisation. So if you flick to the next slide. So we are a transitional housing provider. So that basically means, if you flick to the next slide. So we have 14 transitional houses. And so families can live there for a shortened period of time. We provide short-term accommodation with intensive wraparound support. And so basically the goal is to get the family rent ready, and they are supported by Marie, who provides a coaching oversight to what she does in terms of her property management. And then they have we call them navigators, who basically do exactly that, navigate everything that family needs to be successful in the private rental market. So if we just flick to the next slide as a video, so I'll just, so Marie does a phenomenal job in presenting our houses to families that literally says welcome home. And so I just want to show you a quick clip of what a transitional house looks like. So that's our big property at Bell Block, which is actually owned by Paul and Joy Russell, and Roderick Hope Trust is named after Paul's uncle Rod, who did incredible work with homeless families in Rotorua. And Paul and Joy have been on this journey with us since 2016 as well, and very generously purchased the first property for us to be able to make Roderick Hope Trust a reality. So that's Marie. Obviously, everything Marie does, she has an incredibly high standard, and so we always present a property to a new family that says you are valued, you are loved, and while you're in our care, we're going to look after you really well. The another service that we provide is our sustaining tenancy service. So this is a service for families who are not homeless. If transitional housing is ambulance at the bottom of the cliff, the family is already homeless and they've got nowhere to live. Sustaining tenancies is ambulance at the top of the cliff. So they have a house, but things are going wrong. And so our sustaining tenancies team will wrap around that family to work out what's not working right, what's not working well, and they'll walk alongside them and basically end homelessness for that family by sustaining that tenancy. So they're not going into a motel, they're not coming to the attention of work and income because they're homeless, and they're not coming into transitional housing. We work out how we keep them where they are so their kids can stay in the same school, so that the community that they've got around them remains the same rather than having to change houses all the time. If we flick to the next slide. So I am so grateful to your church for allowing us to use this incredible building for our Ready to Rent program. So for around 6 times a year, maybe a bit more, 8, might even be 10 times in the next 12 months, we run a Ready to Rent program. And so this is a program that I wrote back in 2020. And it is for families who are homeless, living in motels, rough sleeping, or they are facing homelessness in some capacity. And so the Ready to Rent program teaches them how to become the tenant of choice. So when families come into the Ready to Rent program, the anxiety in this room is almost tangible. Like you can almost grab it, you can feel it. And so we work really hard through the first 2 hours of the program to show families that they are valued, that they are not judged, and that we are there to fill their rental kete with everything they need to become the tenant of choice. And coming into a church that is beautifully presented and just says welcome when you come in here, goes a long way to the success of this program. We've had 260 families come through a Ready to Rent program so far, all who have been homeless, and over 180 of those families now have houses. And so, and it's a massive team effort, and we're so grateful. Like yes, I am from the bottom of my heart so grateful to you, Matt, and for trusting us, because some people, we have fists come in on faces sometimes. We've gang members coming in. We have people who are really, really struggling, and so their behaviour sometimes is not great. And so we're working with some people who are facing insurmountable and layered difficulties. And we want them to be successful, because we cannot do transformative work with families if they don't have a roof over their head. And so nothing will stick. And so our goal in running the Ready to Rent program is that they get the tools that they need to be able to be successful, and that has happened, which is so cool. I love it. It's the heartbeat of what we do. I love the Ready to Rent program. Next slide. So our community connector services. This is a new role that we've just rolled out this year, and we have the wonderful Lauren, who is absolutely excelling in this position. So the community connector role, were roles that Ministry of Social Development rolled out over COVID. And in June 2023, Taranaki lost 46 of the 48 contracts. And then in June this year, we lost the final 2 contracts. But I saw a huge need for this connector role that basically is like a gap filler. A family situation, for us to be able to work with them, has to fit into a box, a contractual box. But there were a whole lot of needs that were arising that didn't fit into those boxes. And so I started to work out how we could start to meet those needs without needing to rely on the government to do it. And so I started to work alongside a private funder, and they generously have funded us for 3 years for us to provide the community connector role. Now, as a result of Lauren's incredible work, we have doubled our numbers on 2023 and the families that we've supported already. So Lauren is working incredibly well and doing some really hard mahi with some really, really, with, again, people that are facing insurmountable difficulties. And yeah, I really honour you, Lauren, for the work that you're doing in that space, because it is not an easy space at all to work. So yeah, really, really grateful to our private funder for trusting me with this plan, and yeah, the outcomes that we're getting for families has been phenomenal. Next slide. So we run a bunch of projects every year. If we want to see any change across our community, the most important thing that we have is kids that are going to school, is education. And so in January, we run a project and we provide back to school packs. So we provide children with school bag, lunchbox, drink bottle, everything they need to be successful and be able to fully participate in the classroom. I think this year we did uniforms, we did Chromebooks, we did shoes, socks, so that they feel like they are like their peers. They feel like they belong, they feel like they're included. In winter, we run a winter jackets project. So we wrapped that up a few weeks ago. So this year we gave out 180 jackets to children across the community and a number of adults actually. The goal of this project is to get kids to school warm and dry. So we partner with White Pier Cafe in Bell Block, Taranaki Chamber of Commerce, Anytime Fitness, the thermal pools, and they allow us to be a drop-off. So we put this all out on our social media, and you can donate a brand new jacket or you can donate a second-hand jacket that's in good condition and drop it off at one of those drop-off points. Then we work across our collaborative relationships throughout the community to give those jackets out. At Christmas time, we run Operation Blue Santa, which is a partnership with the Police Family Harm Team. I'm going to talk more about that in a second. And then we run a project for mums and dads. So mums and dads are often the ones that go without at Christmas time. And so we run a project to give them a Christmas gift. So it's a shoebox full of hygiene items or anything that you would like to see in a shoebox at Christmas time is about as complex as it gets. We also run a project giving gifts to children who are likely to go without at Christmas time. So I think last year we gave out gifts across to 600 children across the community. We've got a number of businesses that partner with us and a number of churches that partner with us in that project. Tomorrow, Property Brokers is launching Pack the Bus. And so Roderick Hope Trust are a recipient of the gifts that will be given to Pack the Bus this year, which is awesome. And because I think you only need to go down our main street at the moment to see that homelessness is a huge issue in our city. We've got the most people rough sleeping in our city at the moment than we have in the history of our city. They anticipate there's around 25 people sleeping on the main street and around 60 in the suburbs. And a lot of those, and there's over 100 people every night sleeping in their car. So we've got a lot of work to do, and we're seeing needs like we never have before. I've just done the promo for Operation Blue Santa, and I actually wrote to the board on Friday and said, normally we do 500 food parcels in one day, 90 volunteers, 20 tons of food, $45,000 it costs us. So in between now and Christmas Eve, I need a crowd fund or fundraise $45,000. But actually, I wrote to the board on Friday and said, again, call it faith or call it foolishness, but I need to increase this number because we have got so many families that are struggling at the moment to make ends meet. It is not uncommon for our staff to come back and hear a family say, I had to choose whether I feed my kids or I pay my power bill this week because there's simply not enough funds coming into our household to pay for both. And it's not because they are being frivolous with their money. It is simply because there's not enough to pay for everything. And so we have a faith-based board who came back at me with scripture and said, we're going to do this. So, you know, I know that God is over in and through everything that we are doing as an organisation, and so my belief is that more than $50,000 is going to come in. So I'm just going to show you a quick clip about, and you'll recognise a few faces in this video of Operation Blue Santa because the video explains it way better than I could.
Every day of the year, but I can't feel it by myself. Only works if you're here. And a little bit of magic and a little faith can make every storm that's ever come just fade away. I'll be your angel when the snow's coming down. The song is singing, and you're here all around. Small piece of heaven on earth in this town. It's only Christmas. You're coming around. I'll be your angel when the snow's coming down. Small piece of heaven on earth in this town. It's only Christmas if you're coming around.
So Operation Blue Santa is a project we've run since 2016, and I got a phone call one day from Sergeant Hannah Pilotu, and she said to me, this was in 2016, have you heard about this thing called Blue Santa? And I was like, oh, I've heard about it from the States. She's like, they run it in Auckland. It's really cool. You should run it. And I was like, should I? Okay, let's give it a go. So we gave it a crack in 2016, and we did we met the needs of 40 families with food at Christmas time. And I thought we'd hit the all-time. I was like, this is awesome. And then it grew and grew and grew. And then we graduated from Brian and Julia Rapatini's rumpus room to their church. And the reason we used the Bible Chapel Church was because it's right behind the police station car park. And so we got all the new recruits to walk over and carry the 20 kg boxes of food back to the police station until we put a 1-ton pallet through their floorboards in the church. Oops. Not the best day. Big apology. Anyway, they were cool with it. But I realised at that point we're kind of outgrowing the church as well. So we graduated to a 400 square metre warehouse in Bell Block, and this year we're in a 1,200 square metre warehouse in Bell Block. So, you know, like, Darlene Check said this quote one day, and it's always stuck with me. When you give what's in your hand, one day you'll find it in the middle of your heart. When you give what's in your hand, one day you'll find it in the middle of your heart. And that's all I've done. I've just continued to give what's in my hand. And so Blue Santa partners with the Police Family Harm Team. Family violence, the most unsafe place for a woman anywhere in the world is in her own home. And in the last 12 months to date, we've had 5,183 family harm call-outs in Taranaki. So police are on average attending 14 family harm call-outs a day, with 67% of those call-outs being in New Plymouth. And so the Operation Blue Centre works with the police family harm team to have a conversation around safety with families who are at risk at Christmas time. And then we also give boxes to services like the Taranaki Retreat, Women's Refuge, and about a dozen others who are working with families who are at risk, so that they can be preventative. Police aren't having to go and have a respond to a 111 call out, deliver bad news, issue a summons. They're able to build rapport and create and build relationship. So on the back of Operation Blue Centre was I had a couple come to me and say, I think we should do Blue Centre all year. And I was like, oh, I don't know about that. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of money. Anyway, I said, let's put pen to paper and see where this lands. So what birthed from Operation Blue Centre is a thing called the Police Project. And so what that is we give the Taranaki police the ability to phone us at any point, at any time of the day or night. And if there's a crisis with a family and that need can't be met any other way, and we will, through the people that generously give funds to us, we'll meet that need. So ironically, one night Nate and I were sitting in bed watching a doco on Skid Row, and I got a phone call from the police, and it was my friend Kat. She was actually in the Blue Centre video, and she said to me, hey, we've just responded to a 111 call out. I'm in Eltham. I'm between Eltham and Normanby. There's been a massive family harm incident, and Nana has been booted out of the car on the side of the road. This is at midnight, by the way. And she's walked up the main road and gone to the next house with the lights on and knocked on the door, and the owners of the house have phoned us. What do we do with her? And no one, I mean, we're talking midnight. She's not from Taranaki. Complete breakdown in relationships with family. And so thankfully we've got some gracious moteliers who work alongside us. So at 12:05 a.m. I rang Matt and said, hey, look, this is the situation. What do you reckon? He's like, yep, tell the police to drive her up here, bring her to Unit 5. I'll go and unlock and leave the keys in the unit. So what that pays for is that night for that Nana to stay in the motel. And she was picked up by family the next day. At Christmas time last year, about 9:30, actually, it was Hunter that rang me. And a baby had gone missing, had been taken by a family member. Police were able to get the baby back. A mum needed to leave town, but she had no petrol until Tuesday when her benefit was paid. So I think she had like 3 kilometres left on her car before the petrol ran out. And the closest petrol station was MPD at Locals Cafe. And so I met the police up there. We filled her tank up, got her some food, and then got her on her way out of town. And just last week, I have received a phone call on Friday night, major family harm incident in Stratford. This girl was 10 weeks pregnant and had been beaten up really badly by her partner. She wasn't from New Plymouth, so we paid for her to stay in a motel the night, and then at 7 o'clock the next morning, I went and picked her up and took her down to the bus, got her on the bus, got her out of town and back home safe with family. So the Police Project works to meet the needs of families when no one else can meet it. So we provide food parcels, we'll do petrol vouchers, we can change locks, replace windows, whatever the need is, that's what that service provides. And again, it's quite inconvenient sometimes. I'm sure there's been a few phone calls I've received at family dinners, Kev, where I've had to excuse myself from the room. So the last 8 years has been a massive journey, to say the least, and we have certainly had some incredible wins and some very disappointing losses. Actually, before I go into that, I was thinking, I just saw you on the crowd, Cindy, and I saw Christy walking this morning. I was thinking about yesterday, my first ride in a police car. Do you remember this, Cindy? So every year we used to go to Parachute Music Festival. So for 14 years in a row, we went to Parachute. We used to borrow Christy Clifton's parents' van and trailer, load it to the hilt with young people, and back then we didn't even have permission slips. The permission slip was, if your parents said you can come and they know that this is not a youth event, then you can come. So loose. It would so not fly today. Anyway, Cindy and I were minding our own business at Parachute, and we got tapped on the shoulder by the police, and they were like, there's this girl that's come to our attention. Apparently she came with your group. And I was like, oh no, we don't do the group thing. And they were like, well, apparently she's staying in your village. And I was like, oh, okay. So Cindy and I walked up to the police station at Mystery Creek. They've got like their own little police station there. And unfortunately, this girl had a really serious mental health breakdown. And so they said, look, we're going to have to take her through to Waikato Hospital. You're going to have to come with us. So Cindy and I hopped into the back of the police car, and this girl sat in the middle of us and sang Blessed Be the Name of the Lord the whole way from Mystery Creek all the way through to Waikato Hospital. And so we got her assessed, and she was really unwell. It was quite sad, actually. And so she had to be admitted. And so we got the admission done, and Cindy and I hopped back in the police car. And we're driving back to Mystery Creek, and this is probably like 1:30 a.m. by this stage. And the police see this guy running along the side of the road with a backpack on like he's running away from somewhere. And they're like, strap in, girls. We're going to lock you in, but we're going to go and find out what this guy. So they go screaming down the road, lights on, with us in the back, pull this guy over and wanted to search him. Apparently he was just jogging home from work, but not particularly convincing. Anyway, we were packing ourselves in the back of the car. Like, how on earth do we find ourselves here? Anyway, so I do find it like funny sometimes when we're dealing with the police all the time, and I often think about that situation and wonder how on earth we got ourselves there. But anyway, makes for a good story, eh, Cindy? Yeah. So in terms of the work that we're doing with the trust, we've had some incredible wins, like some absolutely incredible wins, and we've equally had some really disappointing losses. As a local Taranaki organisation, the values that underpin the work that Roderick Hope Trust are doing are grounded in compassion, kindness, patience, respect, integrity and collaboration. That's the DNA that makes us who we are, and it guides us in serving our community with commitment and passion. The past year has been challenging in a number of ways. We've seen the cost of living rise to an all-time high, and so for whānau who are renting in the private market, this has put huge pressure on household budgets. Fuel, power and food prices continue to increase, which significantly impacted the families that we're supporting. Our vision and our service to our community has never been so crucial, and as a team, we continually choose to press through the challenges and position ourselves to be a solution to the barriers that families are facing as we walk with them towards housing security. I am immensely proud of the work that my team are doing. Their commitment to the families they're supporting is second to none. They work tirelessly to deliver services to some of the most vulnerable families in our community. Every day, I'm blessed to witness the team stand firm in their unwavering service and support of whānau that they are walking alongside. And this is often reflected in the heartfelt feedback we receive when they do an evaluation form when they exit service. Hope is part of our trust's name, and I believe that we're called to be hope carriers for families when all feels like all hope is lost. Hope isn't the absence of struggle, it's the presence of courage to take the next important step. Hope doesn't waver. Enduring hope is a notion that we can make it through today's challenges with the strength to face tomorrow. Hope doesn't waver in hard times, and as a team, neither do we. Hope's the heartbeat of our trust and what we're doing for our community. I just want to close off today by telling you a little story about Anna. Anna phoned Roderick Hope Trust on a quiet Saturday afternoon. She stated she said a prayer before Googling emergency housing and hoped that someone would be able to answer her call that day. Anna was not from New Zealand, and she was forced to marry her husband when she came here. She was pregnant with a high-risk pregnancy and had a young child. Anna stated there had been violence in her relationship from the very beginning, and she was desperate to escape this relationship, and this is where we swung into action. The following weeks and months, we supported Anna to leave her violent relationship for good. Anna gave birth to a baby with huge complications, which resulted in multiple operations and lengthy stays in ICU. Anna also went into septic shock following the birth and ended up in ICU herself. It was a high-risk, difficult, and incredibly complex situation which required careful thought and planning. Eventually, we assisted Anna to relocate out of New Plymouth into a rental property in another city. We received the following email from Anna a number of months later. Hi Michelle, I hope you still remember me. I just wanted to let you know that I finally got my licence and I got a car from the Sally's Step Up loan. I've enrolled in Polytech in July for an IT course and the kids are doing great. My eldest has settled down and baby, who is now 1 year old, is doing way better, far less hospital appointments. It used to be every 2 weeks we were taking him back to hospital, and then we finally got him to take him home after a long 2-month stay in ICU. We are living in a warm house and I'm getting counselling to help me deal with my past. Thank you for helping to get me out. I can still remember how you got me groceries when I left, and you got toys for my little one when we were at the motel, and you said a prayer with me at hospital before I had to be flown out to see my newborn post-op. Your team really helped me during a critical time and gave me the respite I needed before the long, hard road ahead, giving birth to a baby with complications in a new city with limited support. I wanted to tell you how amazing you and the team from Roderick Hope Trust are. I've tried so hard to get the same level of support in my new city, but I had to go to so many different providers for something that your organisation helped provide under one roof. Thank you for your support, and please don't give up helping women. They say it takes an average of 7 times for a woman to leave. It actually took me 13 times before I left for good, and I couldn't have made it without you. Best regards, Anna. So on behalf of the team at Roderick Hope Trust, I want to extend our deepest gratitude to you all for your incredible support and generosity that you have shown to some of the most vulnerable in our community. Whether it's through the Ready to Rent program being held in your building, the gardens that you've planted at our transitional houses on Heart Week, the blessing bags you produced last year for families in crisis, the thousands of dollars of household items you've recently donated that will be given to families who are struggling in severe hardship but are unable to adequately furnish their new home, or you've given finances or time towards Operation Blue Santa to support families at Christmas time through the Police Family Harm Team. Your willingness to open your hearts and share your resources has made a profound difference in the lives of hundreds and hundreds of families. Whether it's through your donations, volunteer efforts or prayers, you each show what it truly means to live out kindness, compassion and care. The positive impact this church family has had is immeasurable, and we are deeply grateful for the love and kindness that you extend to those in need. So thank you so, so much. The unwavering commitment to serving others is like a beacon of hope and is a real testament to faith in action. Roderick Hope Trust is so blessed to have your support, and we're excited that together we can continue to make a lasting difference in the lives of our local community. Finally, I just want to close with a scripture that challenges me every day to live fully for the needs of others and to keep my focus on what truly matters, and to remember that every person that we meet is entrusted into our care through Roderick Hope Trust matters to God. And I didn't actually know you guys were doing a fast before I came, but so Isaiah 58 verse 6 is quite timely. This is the kind of fast day I'm after, to break the chains of injustice, to get rid of exploitation in the workplace, to free the oppressed and cancel debts. What I'm interested in seeing you do is sharing your food to the hungry, inviting the homeless and poor into your homes, putting clothes on the shivering ill-clad, and being available to your own families. Do this and the lights will turn on and your lives will turn around at once. Your righteousness will pave the way. The glory of God will secure your passage. Then you will pray and God will answer. You will call out and I'll say, here I am. If you get rid of unfair practices and quit blaming victims, quit gossiping about other people's sins, if you're generous with the hungry and start giving yourselves to the down and out, Your lives will begin to glow in the darkness. Your shadowed lives will be bathed in sunlight. I will show you where to go. I will give you a full life in the emptiest of places, firm muscles, strong bones. You'll be like a well-watered garden, a gurgling spring that never runs dry. You'll use the old rubble of your past lives to build anew, rebuild the foundations from out of your past. You'll be known as those who can fix anything, restore old ruins, rebuild and renovate, and make the community livable again. Church, your example of generosity, kindness, and compassion continues to inspire and challenge me to live out my calling every day. Thank you so much for your support and for choosing to be a true reflection of Christ's love in action. So thank you so much.